You ever notice how everything people cling to in life is just a prop? That's all it is. Props and costume. Like a cheap high school play where the set is falling apart and the actors are overacting. But the audience is still clapping because they don't know what else to do. Modern life is nothing but a big dressing room where people try on different outfits, hoping the right one makes them look important, successful, or at least less pathetic than they really feel. Think about money. Money is the star prop of the whole production. The most overused, overpraised, overrated prop in the entire theater of life. People treat money like it's magical. They wave it around like it is real power. But what is it? Colored paper, shiny metal discs, numbers on a screen, that's all. If you handed money to a squirrel, it wouldn't know what to do. It would probably chew it up or bury it. That's what money is worth in reality. But in the theater of society, it's the golden crown. The scepter, the magic wand, people bow down to it. They build their whole character around how much of this silly prop they can collect. And the way people talk about money like it's a personality trait. I'm doing well, I make 6 figures. Congratulations, you've got a bigger pile of props backstage. Doesn't make you smarter, doesn't make you kinder, doesn't make you interesting. It just means you've been cast in the role of a successful earner. And now you walk around flashing your prop like it's a Tony Award. People wave money like it makes them talented. But money is not talent. Money is Monopoly pieces. It's cardboard cutouts painted green. But in this theater, you wave the right props and everyone applauds. Then there are the cars. Oh boy, cars are the costumes with wheels. People don't buy cars to get places. They buy cars to show the audience who they think they are. That's all it is. You ever see somebody pull up in a shiny sports car? They're not saying, "Oh, look at my car." They're saying, "Oh, look at the role I'm playing. I'm the hot shot, I'm the big shot, I'm the sexy villain in the movie." And you believe it too for about 5 seconds until you see them get out of the car and struggle to pull their pants over their gut. Suddenly the illusion breaks. The Ferrari doesn't match the man. The costume doesn't fit the actor. But he's still wearing it, hoping you'll buy the performance. And it's not just sports cars. Every car has a role. The SUV, that's the costume for our responsible family person. Minivans, that's a suburban stage mom. Pickup trucks, that's a rugged tough guy, even if the only thing he's hauling is groceries. And the little compact cars, that's I care about the environment. Even though the guy driving it litters at red lights, cars are rolling costumes, and people spend years of their life paying for them, polishing them, insuring them, just to keep the audience convinced. Nobody really buys a car to get from point A to point B. They buy a car so the neighbors will look out the window and clap. Clothes are the most obvious costumes of all. The entire fashion industry is built on selling you new costumes for your role in the play. And people fall for it every time. You put on a suit, suddenly you're professional. You put on a uniform, suddenly you're irrespectable. You put on a robe, suddenly you're holy. Same person, different costume. The costume makes the audience believe. If you walked into a courtroom in your pajamas, nobody would take you seriously. But you put on that black robe and boom, you're a judge. You didn't get smarter in the dressing room. You just put on the approved costume for that scene. And don't even start with designer clothes. That's next level theater. People pay thousands of dollars for a shirt because it has the right logo. It's not even a shirt anymore, it's a prop, a symbol. It's the actor holding a shiny object on stage saying, look at me, I'm important. I'm valuable. But underneath, it's still a piece of fabric covering the same old sweaty body. If clothes really defined people, every naked person would be worthless. And we all know that's not true. Well, almost the time. Diplomas are another one of those props. A diploma is a certificate that says, this actor memorized their lines for 4 years without falling asleep too often. That's what it means. People frame their diplomas, hang them on the wall, and point to them like they're relics from the Holy Theater. Oh, look, proof that I belong in this role. I studied. I rehearsed. And sure, maybe you learned something along the way, but the real function of the diploma is to be a stage prop. Without that piece of paper, nobody believes you can play the role of a lawyer or a doctor or executive. You might actually know more than someone with a degree. But if you don't have the right prop, the audience won't believe it. Job titles? Now there's another costume trick. Titles are the name tags of the play. You slap a vice president of regional operations under someone's name and suddenly they walk taller. Doesn't matter that a vice president of regional operations means they approve bathroom schedules at a paper company. The title is the costume, the illusion. It makes them look important under the stage lights. And people buy into it. They introduce themselves by their title like it's their character name. I'm Dr. So-and-so. Doctor of what? PhD in underwater basket weaving, doesn't matter. The audience doesn't ask questions if the costume looks convincing. Even religion has its costumes and props. The robes, the hats, the beads, the candles. You walk into a religious service and it's pure theater. People in fancy costumes waving props around reading from a script. And the audience is sitting politely in their pews, clapping with their eyes closed. Nobody wants to admit it's a performance, but it is. Ritual is theater. Symbol is theater. The whole thing is one long, expensive play with really dedicated actors. And don't forget the house. The house is the ultimate prop. The house is the giant stage set you build around yourself to convince the audience that you're successful. People spend 30 years paying off a house they can't afford, filling it with furniture they don't need, decorating it with nonsense they don't like. All so they can say, look at me, look at my set design. You walk through the suburbs, every house looks the same. Like a stage set that got copied and pasted. But people inside think they're unique. Big screen TV, fancy couches, stainless steel appliances. Nobody buys a refrigerator because it keeps food cold. They buy it because it looks good in a set design. People walk into your kitchen, see your fridge, and go, wow, they're really doing well. It's not a refrigerator. It's a character reference. Same with the car in the driveway, the clothes in the closet, the diploma on the wall. They're all props. They're all little tricks to make the performance look believable. What's really wild is how attached people get to these props. They defend them, they worship them, they treat them like holy objects. If you insult someone's clothes or car or house, it's like you attack their very soul. They don't realize you're not criticizing them, you're criticizing the costume. You're criticizing the cardboard sword they're waving around on stage. But they can't separate the prop from the actor. The costume becomes the person. The title becomes the person. The money becomes the person. That's how deep the illusion goes. The sad part is nobody wants to step off the stage. Nobody wants to admit they're just holding props. They think if they let go, if they drop the costume, the audience will boo. Ooh. The strangest thing about this whole performance we call life isn't even the actors or the costumes or the props. It's the audience, because the audience buys the show. They don't just watch it. They live in it, they breathe it, they clap for it like it's the greatest story ever told, even when the writing is awful and the set looks like it was made out of cardboard in someone's garage. That's the amazing part. Nobody really questions it. They don't stand up and say, hey, wait a second, this isn't real. This is just some guy waving his arms on stage. No, they lean forward in their seats, smile, nod, applaud on cue, and convince themselves they're watching high art instead of a cheap rerun. You ever notice how quick people are to believe something just because it looks official? You put a guy in a suit, sit him under a spotlight, give him a little stage with a microphone, and suddenly he's a genius. Doesn't matter what he says, doesn't matter if it's recycled nonsense. The audience is nodding along like they've just heard the wisdom of the ages. They're not listening to words, they're watching costumes. They're watching props. Yeah? And as long as the guy looks like he belongs on stage, they'll buy whatever story he's selling. People don't want truth. They want theater that looks like truth. And what's even funnier is how the audience polices itself. If someone in the middle of the crowd stands up and says, hey, wait a minute, this whole thing's fake. He's just pretending. The rest of the audience will yell at him. Just sit down, shut up. You're ruining it for the rest of us. They'd rather stay fooled than have their night spoiled by honesty. That's how deep the commitment is. Nobody wants to admit they've been clapping for a puppet show. They'd rather hiss at the guy who points out the strings. Take advertising, that's the intermission act. Commercials are mini plays designed to hypnotize the audience between scenes, and people buy into them every time. You see an ad for a car. The guy's driving down an empty mountain road, hair perfect, music blasting, not a pothole in sight. And the audience thinks, yeah, that's what it'll be like if I buy that car. No, it won't. You'll be stuck on the highway, bumper to bumper, staring at the same dented minivan for 2 hours. But the commercial is theater, and the audience claps anyway, reaching for their wallets like they're buying tickets to happiness. Same thing with food commercials. You see a hamburger on TV, it looks like a piece of art. Perfect bun, crisp lettuce, meat glistening like it was kissed by angels. And the audience believes it. They go out, order the burger, unwrap it, and it looks like something that got run over by a lawnmower. Do they complain? No, they eat it anyway and go back for more next week. Because the audience doesn't care about reality, they care about the show. And people don't just believe the show, they defend it. You ever try to tell someone their favorite product is garbage? They get offended like you insulted their mother. What do you mean this soda is bad for me? It's refreshing, it's fun, it's a lifestyle. No, it's sugar water with a costume. But the audience has already bought into the performance, and once you buy the ticket, you don't want to hear you've been conned. You want to believe you made a good choice. That's why the illusion holds, because the audience is desperate for it to hold. Look at weddings. Oh, weddings are a masterpiece of audience participation. Everybody shows up dressed in costume, playing their role in the grand romantic finale. The couple is on stage delivering their lines. I do, forever and ever, and the audience eats it up. Standing ovation. They cheer, they cry, they throw rice, they dance. And here's the kicker. Half the people in that audience know damn well the marriage probably won't last, but they don't say it. They clap, they play along. Because that's the role of the wedding audience. Believe in the fairy tale, even when you know it's fiction. Funerals are the same way, just a different script. Everybody comes in black, whispers their lines, and pretends to believe in the finale. He's in a better place. She lived a full life. Nobody questions it. Nobody says, this sucks. I hate this, and I don't buy a word of it. No, they sit quietly. Nod politely, cry on cue, and head to the lobby for sandwiches. The audience follows the script because that's what the scene demands. You even see it in the workplace. Offices are full of people clapping along to lines they don't believe. A boss announces some exciting new initiative, and the employees smile, nod, clap politely, even though half of them are thinking. They don't say that, they stay in character. They act like the boss is delivering a Broadway monologue when he's really just mumbling through a PowerPoint. The employees are the laugh track, keeping the illusion alive so the scene doesn't collapse. Schools are training grounds for this behavior. Kids learn early how to sit still, keep quiet, raise their hand on cue, and repeat the lines they're given. That's not education, that's audience training. You learn how to be the perfect little clapper, the perfect little nodder, the perfect little believer. If you play the role well enough, maybe someday you'll get promoted from the audience to the stage. But even then, you're just another actor reading from somebody else's script. And what's really wild is how audiences will argue with each other over which show is better, which actor is the best, which performance is the truth. They'll fight about it, defend it, go to war over illusions. Meanwhile, the people behind the curtain are laughing because they know it's all the same recycled performance with different costumes. But the audience takes it personally. They forget it's a play and start thinking it's life or death. That's how committed they are to the show. And have you ever noticed how people cheer for things they secretly hate? They'll clap for the rich, the powerful, the famous, even while grumbling about how unfair it all is. They'll boo the villain but still tune in every week to watch him again. It's like professional wrestling. Everybody knows it's fake. Everybody knows the punches don't land, but the crowd still screams like it's real. 'Cause people love the drama more than the truth. Truth is messy. Drama has a script. Drama tells you when to gasp and when to laugh. And the audience likes being told. The audience doesn't just sit back quietly either. They participate. They buy the merchandise, they learn the catchphrases, they repeat the lines. They spread the script to the next generation. This is how things are. This is how things work. This is what you're supposed to believe. They're not just spectators. They're unpaid extras in the same play. They reinforce the illusion by repeating it, teaching it, living it. They don't just buy the ticket, they sell the tickets too. And the funny thing is, the audience doesn't even like the show most of the time. They complain about it constantly. This sucks, I'm tired, I hate this job, I can't stand this routine. But the next morning, they're back in their seat, watching the same scenes, clapping at the same lines. It's like being addicted to a bad sitcom. You know it's terrible, you know it's wasting your time, but you can't stop watching. You've seen every rerun, but you still tune in because it's familiar. It's comfortable. It tells you what to expect. That's why the play never ends. The actors need the audience, and the audience needs the play. It's a deal. The actors pretend to be important, and the audience pretends to believe them. Everybody claps, everybody feels included, and nobody has to face the uncomfortable silence of an empty stage. Because that's the scariest thing of all. Real life without a script, without costumes, without props, without applause. That's what people are running from. They don't want reality. They want theater. They want the illusion. And that's why the audience buys the show. Because it's easier to clap for the same tired performance than to stand up, walk out, and admit the whole thing was never real in the first place. And that's the final act. The most incredible part of the whole performance we call modern life isn't the actors, or the costumes, or even the props. The most incredible part is the audience. The audience actually believes the show. That's what blows my mind. Everyone knows deep down that life is a clumsy play with bad writing and cardboard scenery, but the crowd still sits there, clapping politely, laughing at the cues, gasping at the right moments, pretending like this is the real deal. People buy tickets to the same lousy show every day and never ask for a refund. They don't even complain to the usher. They just sit there, nodding along, convinced that the actors on stage actually mean what they're saying. You ever notice how quick people are to buy into the illusion? You'll put a man in a suit, hand him a microphone, and suddenly the audience believes every word he says. It doesn't matter if it's gibberish. Doesn't matter if it's recycled nonsense. He's wearing the costume. He's standing under the spotlight, and that's enough. The crowd leans forward, applauding his wisdom, quoting him later like he was reciting Shakespeare. The same crowd that won't trust their neighbor to water their plants will believe some stranger on stage because he looks the part. It's all theater, but the audience doesn't care. They love the show. And the funniest thing is, the audience polices itself. If somebody stands up in the middle of the performance and says, "Hey, wait a minute, this is all fake," the rest of the audience tells them to sit down. Shh, enjoy the show, imagine that. People would rather stay lost in the illusion than hear the truth. They'd rather keep believing in the lousy special effects than admit it's just strings and wires. It's not enough that the actors fake it. The audience has to fake it too, pretending the smoke and mirrors are impressive when they've seen the same trick 100 times. Look at advertising. That's the commercial break in the big play. Every ad is a mini performance with smiling actors waving props. Buy this car, it will make you happy. Wear this cologne and women will fall from the sky. Eat this cereal and your family will love you again. None of it's true, none of it has ever been true, but the audience believes it. They see a man in a commercial driving down a mountain road with perfect hair and they think, "Yeah, that could be me." No, it can't. You're stuck in traffic on a highway that smells like gasoline. But the illusion is so shiny, so polished that people clap along anyway. They reach for their wallets like they're buying another ticket. And what's amazing is how people cheer for roles they secretly hate. They applaud the rich, the famous, the powerful, even while grumbling about how unfair life is. They boo the villain but still come back next week to watch him again. It's like pro wrestling for the soul. Everyone knows it's fake, everyone knows the punches don't land, but the crowd still screams, "Hit him again!" People love the drama. They love to be fooled. It's comforting. The truth is messy, but the performance has lighting cues. The performance has a script. Item. The performance tells you when to laugh and when to cry. And the audience loves being told. You go to a wedding and everybody's in the audience clapping like they're watching the finale of a romantic comedy. They know half of these marriages end in disaster, but they still stand up, cheer, throw rice, cry on cue. They play their part as the supporting cast, reinforcing the illusion that love conquers all. A year later, they're gossiping about the divorce, but during the show, oh, they're believers. The audience suspends disbelief better than any actor ever could. Funerals, same deal. Everyone shows up, sits quietly, waits for their lines. As she's in a better place, he lived a full life. Nobody believes those lines completely, but they recite them anyway, because that's what the scene calls for. The audience is committed to the script. If someone stood up at a funeral and said, "This sucks, I'm angry, I don't believe any of this," he'd be shushed instantly. The audience doesn't like improvisation. They like predictability. Stick to the script, say your lines, and let the curtain close. And you see it in workplaces too. Whole offices are audiences applauding nonsense. A boss announces a new initiative or a core values, and everyone nods like it's profound. Deep down, half the people are thinking, "This is garbage, I just want to go home." But do they say it? No, they applaud. They clap along with the fake excitement. They laugh at the boss's lame jokes. They're not employees. They're extras in the audience, filling the silence so the lead actor feels important. Even schools train you to be a good audience member. Kids are taught to sit still, be quiet, listen to the teacher's lines, and clap at the right time. They learn to raise their hand on cue, like applauding between acts. That's what education is. Rehearsal for being a proper member of the audience later in life. You don't question the play, you don't rewrite the lines, you just sit there, listen, and believe the story being told. If you're good enough at pretending, maybe someday you'll be promoted from audience member to actor. But even then, you're still just reading from someone else's script. And the thing is, people don't just believe the show, they defend it. They become critics in favor of the production. They write reviews about how wonderful the performance is, how inspiring the actors are, how beautiful the costumes look. They fight with each other over which actor is better, which storyline is superior, as if any of it is real. The audience gets so wrapped up in the illusion that they forget they're watching it all. They think they're living, but really they're clapping in a dark room, staring at a stage. What's hilarious is how people think they're making their own choices, when really they're just following the stage direction. Stand here, wear this, buy that, believe this, cheer now, boo later. And they do it, gladly, enthusiastically, because the show is comforting. The show gives them a role, even if it's just a supportive clapper. And if you try to leave the theater, they'll stop you. "Hey, where do you think you're going? The play's not over. Sit down and enjoy it with the rest of us." They don't want anyone to walk out, because if one person walks out, others might notice the exits too. Better to keep everyone seated, staring at the stage, applauding the same tired scenes forever. And that's what modern life really is, a never-ending rerun with a very loyal fan base. The actors don't change much. The props are recycled, the costumes are predictable. But the audience keeps showing up. They keep buying tickets, they keep laughing at the same punchlines, they keep crying at the same scenes, and they never notice that the play isn't even good. It's mediocre community theater with bad lighting and lousy acoustics. But they sit there wide-eyed, believing every word, applauding every trick, begging for more. Because the truth is, people don't want reality. Reality doesn't sell tickets. Reality is boring, scary, confusing. Theater is neat. Theater has rules. Theater tells you who's the hero, who's the villain, when to laugh, when to cry. Theater doesn't leave room for doubt. And that's why the audience buys the show. Because they'd rather believe the actors on stage than face the silence of the empty theater. And that, my friends, is the encore. Everyone's acting, nobody's real. That's the big secret. The whole modern world is just a Broadway show where the audience forgot to leave and the actors forgot it was pretend. Think about it. Every single day, people get up in the morning, put on their little costumes, rehearse their lines in front of the mirror, and head out to perform in that never-ending play called A Normal Life. Nobody tells you that when you're a kid. They say, be yourself. But what they really mean is, be yourself, just not like that. Be the approved version of yourself. The one that fits in, hits the right marks, smiles on cue, and doesn't mess up the script. You grow up and realize that be yourself was just the first line in the playbill. From the time you're old enough to tie your shoes, they hand you a role. Here's your part, kid. You're going to be the obedient student, the polite child, the future taxpayer. Don't improvise, don't forget your lines. And remember to smile when the teacher tells you that Columbus discovered America. And you're sitting there thinking, oh, wait a minute, weren't there already people here? Doesn't matter. That's not in the script. Just clap along, nod politely, and don't ask questions. This is theater, not reality. Reality makes people uncomfortable. Theater sells tickets. You walk into school and it looks like rehearsal. Everybody's got their assigned costume. The jock, the nerd, the teacher's pet, the rebel. It's like a bad high school play nobody asked to see, but everyone's trapped in the audience. And the teachers? Oh, they're directors with no budget. Places, everyone. Places, act studious. Pretend you care about the periodic table. The whole time you're thinking, I don't care about molybdenum, I care about lunch. But no, you gotta pretend. You gotta play your part. If you don't, they say, he's disruptive, he's not serious. Translation. He's not sticking to the script. And then later in life, you graduate to the big stage. The workplace. Oh, that's Broadway right there. The Workplace is the longest-running comedy drama in history with the worst dialogue ever written. Every Monday, you show up for rehearsal. You put on your costume, your little tie, your little badge, your sensible shoes, and you walk in ready to fake enthusiasm. You see your boss and deliver your line. Good morning. How are you? And your boss says, living the dream. What dream? The dream where you file reports for 30 years and get a gold watch when you die. That's not a dream, that's a script from hell. But everyone plays along, everyone laughs politely, because nobody wants to break character. And the office meetings. Oh my God, that's theater in the round. Everyone's sitting around a table pretending they're contributing something to society when all they're doing is playing office. The musical. The boss says, we need to circle back on that synergy, and everybody nods like it means anything. You ever notice in meetings the people who talk the most always say the least? They're not speaking, they're auditioning. They're hoping for applause, or at least a promotion. Nobody's honest enough to say, this meeting could have been an email and my chair is giving me hemorrhoids. No, they nod, they smile, they pretend, because the show must go on. And then you step outside the office and the show doesn't stop. Society has dress rehearsals everywhere. You go to the grocery store, another stage, and everyone pretending they're normal, that they're just browsing the produce. Nobody admits they have no idea what an artichoke actually does. But they pick one up anyway, just to look cultured, like they're auditioning for a master chef. The same guy buys frozen pizza every week, but today he's got an artichoke in his cart because he's pretending. That's what modern life is. A long audition for a part you'll never get in a movie that isn't being filmed. Even conversations are scripted. You ever notice that? You ask somebody, how are you? And they say, oh, fine, and you? That's not communication, that's two actors reading cue cards. Nobody's actually saying what they feel. Nobody's saying, how am I? I'm exhausted, I hate my job, my kid's an idiot, and I can't remember the last time I was truly happy. No, that's not in the script. The script says, fine, and you? And you reply, oh good, thanks. Curtain closes. Scene over. Relationships are another act. Dating is like community theater. Everybody shows up in costume playing the best version of themselves. You sit across from someone at dinner and they're pretending they love poetry and sunsets when really they binge watch bad sitcoms and argue with their mother. But on the first date, they're Romeo, they're Juliet, they're smooth, polished, ready to deliver their best lines. 6 months later, the curtain slips. You see the understudy, the cranky, farting, lazy version they had hidden backstage. The illusion fades, but by then you're stuck in a 2-act play called We Already Split the Rent. And wedding. Don't get me started. Weddings are the Academy Awards of acting. Everybody's dressed up, the families pretend they love each other, the speeches sound like Shakespeare, and the couple says lines they've rehearsed. I do. For better or worse. Or forever and ever. Nobody's thinking forever, they're thinking about the open bar. But it's theater, it's spectacle, it's ritual. And if the marriage fails, you don't get your money back for the tickets. Even funerals are staged. That's the closing scene. Everyone shows up in black. Everyone whispers lines like he's in a better place, or he looks so peaceful. Peaceful. She looks dead, but we keep the act going. We treat the whole thing like it's the final curtain call. Ladies and gentlemen, the star has left the stage. Please join us in the lobby for sandwiches. And what's funny is, the people who don't play along, the ones who don't act, we call them a weird. We say they're eccentric. They're antisocial. They're troublemakers. In reality, they're the only ones telling the truth. They're the only ones who didn't buy a ticket to this lousy production. But society doesn't like unscripted moments. Society likes predictability. Stay in costume. Say your lines. Don't break character. If you do, the critics come for you. That's why everyone's on their best behavior in public. Public life is the biggest theater of all. People don't talk the way they do at home. At home, you're scratching, farting, mumbling to yourself. In public, you're polished, polite, putting on the big show. You say things like, "Yes, officer," and "Excuse me, ma'am." That's not you. That's the character you play to get through the scene without being booed off stage. And the funniest part is, deep down, everybody knows it. Everybody knows they're acting, but they keep doing it because they're afraid of silence, afraid of emptiness, afraid the theater might close and they'll be left alone on stage with no audience. People would rather live a lie with applause than tell the truth in an empty room. That's the power of theater. That's the tragedy and the comedy rolled into one. The truth is, modern life is less about living and more about performing. You don't live a life, you put one on, like a costume. Every morning you wake up, get dressed, and ask yourself, what role am I playing today? Am I the hard-working employee? The loving spouse? The friendly neighbor? The dutiful citizen? Whatever it is, you know it's not the real you. It's just another part in the play. And when the curtain finally drops, you realize you never got to be yourself. You were just another actor in a show that never ends. And that, folks, is the punchline.